Hey everybody, I'm Arden Kaywin, and in today's episode of the Pro Singer Success Collective, I'm going to share with you the number one thing that you need to know for better breath support and how to do it. Okay, so you want better breath support. I mean, that's like the holy grail for any singer, right? Is like to feel like you're so solid and consistent and reliable on top of your breath. But very few singers actually are. So if you want better breath support, there is one thing that you have to do, and it is to stop thinking like a singer. So I know you're thinking to yourself, that sounds so counterintuitive, Arden. I am a singer. How do I stop thinking like a singer? What does thinking like a singer even mean? So we're going to get into all of that right now. Okay, so instead of thinking like a singer, because if you want better breath support, you need to think differently. You need to stop thinking like a singer and start thinking like an athlete. And no, not so that you can improve your VO2 max to be able to hold longer notes or be able to have more oxygen for, bigger lungs, and none of that. None of that. But because as a singer, I want you to understand something. You are no different than an athlete. You are training your body to do something over and over again for a desired outcome. No different than, Tom Brady perfecting his throw so that when he gets into the game, those mechanics are down and he can be in the moment of the game instead of thinking about his technique. Okay. So in that way, you're an athlete. You're training your body to do the same thing over and over again for a desired outcome. And what athletes know, and what they have known for centuries, is that your body cannot do what your brain is sabotaging. And so, yes, singing is an artistic endeavor, but it is also an athletic endeavor and it's an intellectual endeavor. It is mind and body. Athletes know this. They understand. It's the whole get your head in the game thing. You've heard that, right? They know that it's mind and body. And guess what? Words matter when it comes to how the mind and the body are communicating. The words that we choose to direct ourselves around our vocal technique really affect what our bodies will do, for better or for worse. So today, I want to give you 3 examples of how changing one word can make a huge difference in your breath support and how your body is going to implement that technique. So the reason why these words are so important, and I'm going to give you my top 3 words for creating and up-leveling your singing. And the reason why these 3 words are so important is because they foster trust. So the habits that negatively affect your singing the most are born out of lack of trust of your instrument, your technique, and your ability to use it. So without trust, we feel untethered, unmoored, insecure, unable to let go. So we compensate by doing things with our bodies, with our instrument when we sing that give us the illusion of control, but really sabotage us in the opposite direction. Things like we push, we squeeze, we hold, we tense, we reach, we force. These are the things that we compensate with our bodies by doing that give us the illusion of control, but really all of this trying, making, forcing, doing, all of the excess control that we exert when we don't trust our body's innate ability to make resonant sound, they actually end up making us sound worse. And so it becomes a negative feedback loop in that way. So the less we trust, the more we try to force and control and manipulate, and the worse we sound. And then we trust even less because we've made a sound we don't like. And so we push even more, we sound even worse, and then we trust even less. And here's the loop. Okay, it's pretty clear. So changing the words that we use to direct ourselves around our breath support, it interrupts this feedback loop. So without further ado, let me tell you what I think the 3 most powerful words are that you can use around your breath support to create a much more reliable mechanism, trust, and consistent support. So the first one is the word let. Let the breath come in. So you probably are used to telling yourself, and you'd have teachers tell you whatever, take a breath. But this word take, okay, take implies a grabbing, a forcing, a pulling, instead of let the breath come in. The word let, it fosters trust around the inhale. It fosters trust around the fact that you know how to breathe and you can just let go and do that, because the inhale, guys, it is a release. It is not a doing. When you think you have to take a breath, you pull and you grab it. It's something that you feel like you need to do, and then you do, and everything contracts. And then you actually make the space that the air comes in smaller and you get less air. So with this idea of let, it fosters what we really want for the inhale, which is a release in the body to make room for the air that's coming in. And so you will get plenty of air this way, instead of the idea of like tanking up, which comes from an insecurity that you're not going to get enough, that you don't have enough. And so you tank up, and it results in a smaller space, more tension, less air, and less security, less feeling of control. So, number one word, let, as in let the breath come in rather than take a breath. Number two, the second word that is super powerful here is the idea flex. That is your word when it comes to the muscles of support, the lower abdomen, the pelvic floor, the back, okay? Flex the muscles of support instead of contract the muscles of support. So here's why that's important. Because when you think flex, what is the difference between flex and contract? Flex is an outward expansion versus contract is an inward pulling in contraction, okay? So if you are contracting the muscles of support, then you are pulling in the abdomen, pulling in and up, and you are creating a sensation of stress and push and contraction up towards your larynx, which pushes way too much air out, which is going to cause you to constrict to prevent that air from coming out, because you don't want an airy sound. And so now you've got more air than you need, you're flooding, you've got tension to prevent that flood, and you're not going to make it to the end of the phrase, which contributes to what? Insecurity, lack of trust, okay? So flex is the opposite of contract. Flex takes these muscles and flexes them out and down and leads in and expands them, flexing the muscles of support. Now you've created a really rock solid container that's not going to sabotage that domino effect that we just talked about a minute ago. And so when you flex into your support, it allows trust that your body is designed to make sound using very little air. You don't need to contract to push the air out to get a good sound. That's actually what sabotages and creates the airy sound and the tension and you not making it to the end of the phrase because you pushed all your air out. Rather than flex creates the exact right volume and velocity of air. You don't need a lot of air to sing. That allows you to get through a phrase without running out. It's a very resonant, presonant sound because it's not flooded with air. And so flex versus contract. Flex the muscles of support rather than contract the muscles of support. And the last word that I want to give you that is very powerful in changing the way we're thinking around our breath support, that changes then the way we use our body, because your body is just following the instructions that your brain is giving it, okay, is the word implode. So let's talk about this. I think most singers have the idea that they have to get the sound out. They have to explode the sound out. They have to be heard. They have to get it out of their body, get the air out, get the sound out to the audience. And it's that explode energy. But when we do that, you're right back into make, force, do, push. Because if you feel like you need to get the sound out, to explode the sound out, what's your body going to do? It's going to follow those directions and it's going to contract and push up and out. But now you've sabotaged your support. You've gotten rid of way too much air. You're going to contribute to tension to prevent that from, all that air from flooding out. And now it's just this like massive sabotage because it blows you out. It doesn't get you the vibrato you want. It doesn't get you to the end of the phrase. And more than anything, it just sabotages your body's efficient design for making sound. Guys, your body knows how to make resonant sound. But if you feel like you need to explode and get that sound out, then you're sabotaging your body's natural design to do it the efficient way. And so then your sound suffers, creates tension, strain, and even vocal injury. This is how nodes happen, vocal hemorrhage, vocal paralysis. All of that upward push to explode the sound out creates way too much subglottal tension and is not good. Causes injury and sabotages the sound. So when we implode, right, it's a much more effective way of directing yourself in the sound. When we implode the sound, it's this idea of bringing the sound to you. It's a way of creating a different energetic direction that fosters trust in our body that we are enough. We don't need to push it and force it and help it. There's no need to explode the sound because there's nothing to prove, guys. That need to explode is just born out of the need to prove that you're good, the need to be heard, the need to get it out. You know, the more efficient that we are with our support and our air is because we're not sabotaging that to push. Instead, we naturally lean into this flex feeling that I was talking about. That contract, it's also connected to this feeling of explode. Because if you feel you need to explode to prove something, to be heard, to be good enough, to get it out, you're going to contract your body to that end to do that. So flex is also related to implode. Bring the sound to you. So these are 3 examples of how changing your thinking creates a different reality in your body, which changes the sound you make, changes your singing, and your ability to make that sound that's going to have a great impact on the audience. So when you give your mind a new way to communicate with your body around your technique, it's just amazing how your singing and your sound will change. So, in changing the way that we think about the inhale, by changing the words we use to direct ourselves around how we breathe, by letting the sound come in instead of taking the breath, it begins to foster trust. Trust that our body knows how to breathe. Trust that we can let go and make space and let air fill our lungs in the way it was meant to, and we get plenty of air, rather than needing to, tank up, which actually creates less air because there's less room and more tension in the body. When we think flex the muscles of support, we trust that our body is designed to make sound using very little air. You do not need to push a ton of air to get the sound you want. It's the exact opposite. Okay, so when we think flex rather than contract, we're trusting that our body is designed to make sound using very little air and that we do not need to contract inward and push the air out in order to make that sound. When we think implode the sound, we trust that we are enough, that there is no need to explode because we don't have anything to prove. And with that trust, you're so much more efficient with your support and your air and your body in using that. And so these are examples of how changing the thinking changes the singing. When you give your mind a new way to communicate with your body around your technique and around your singing, it's just amazing how your singing and then your career will change. And so if this approach resonates with you, I invite you to book a call with me to get some clarity on how your specific singing is sabotaging and affecting your singing and the scope of the career that you want to build with it. And, I will share with you the exact strategy that I use with my singers to eliminate all the wrong thinking, the sabotaging thinking, the ineffective thinking, so that you can sing powerfully and freely and dramatically up-level your career. So I'm going to put a link at the end of this video. If you're on YouTube, you can click it right at the end. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it in the chat to book a call with me. The call is free. It's because I know so many of you are just done doing it the old way, but you don't really know what the new way is. And so you really want to get in there and understand that and make those changes so that you don't have to wonder, what if anymore? What if I dealt with these issues? What if I'd been able to clear my technique challenges? What if I'd been able to really trust and stand in that confidence and deliver when it counts every single time? What if I cleared the stinking thinking that's been holding me back from making my best sound and really went for it? Then How would you sing? How would you perform? How would audiences respond? How would you finally then be able to make that impact that gets you paid to sing on a regular basis? You will never know unless you do the work. And if I can help you do that, I will absolutely tell you on this call and show you and share with you the proven system and path that we've used that's worked for so many of others of singers that we've worked with before you. So I just want to explain, though, who this call is for. This call is for singers who have already had technical training. You have had one-on-one voice lessons. You are out there hustling, performing, auditioning, putting stuff out, making records, doing performances, whatever your genre is, you are doing that, and you are just not seeing the results of all of this in the form of the sustainable career that you really want. So if you have never taken voice lessons before, this call is not for you. If you have only had a handful of one-on-one lessons, that is not enough for you to understand even the basic default of what your body is doing that for you to sabotage. And I guarantee you that all the insecurities and all the desire and the need to prove and push, if you've never, for like a good 6 months to a year, taken a regular lesson, if you've never done that, all the insecurity and the thinking is just being created by the fact that you don't have tools to rely on. And so that can create a lot of stinking thinking and a lot of lack of confidence and a lot of lack of trust. So go get that training first. This call is not for you if you have not already had a lot of expert training and you're not out there trying to hustle and make this career happen. Go get that training first, and then I guarantee you a lot of that insecurity will clear up. Now, if you have had that training and you still feel massively unreliable or insecure, or you know there's another layer of performance, of stability, of impact in there, and you're just not seeing it come out when you need to deliver in those auditions, performances, recordings, and you've had the training and it's just not showing up the way you want in the career, now you are the one who should book a call. This call is for you. And so you're gonna see the link to book a call. As soon as this video ends, you can click on the screen on YouTube or click in the chat on Facebook. Set up a call with me today. We'll see if I can help. And if I can, awesome. And if it's not a fit, that's okay too. You're still gonna get a ton of clarity. So I really want you guys to start marinating and understanding this idea that when you change the thinking, you change the singing. And if you're someone who's had a lot of training and you're out there and you're just not getting the results you want, and you would like to talk about what your issues are and what we can do to help you change the thinking to change the singing, then book a call with me today. Don't overthink that. Let's get you sorted. All right, guys, this has been today's episode of Pro Singer Success Collective. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you want to subscribe, click the link right over there that says subscribe. And if you want to book a breakthrough session with me, which you absolutely should do, then click the link right over here that says book a call to schedule an appointment to speak with us. I'll see you on the next episode.